All right, at this time, I'd like to call the regularly scheduled Committee of the Whole meeting to order here in the Village of Tinley Park, Cook and Will Counties, held on Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024. Village clock is at 6 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Brady?
Here.
Trustee Brennan?
Present.
Trustee Mahoney?
Present.
Trustee Mueller?
Here.
Trustee Shaw?
Present.
Trustee Sullivan?
Here.
President Klotz?
Present.
Very good. We have a quorum. Item number 3, consider approval of the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held on March 19th, 2024. Is there such a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Mahoney. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Trustee Sullivan. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Roll call for item 3, Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
Very good. Motion carries. Item number 4, discuss amendment to the Civil Service Rules and Regulations. Hannah?
Thank you, Trustee Brennan. So this is actually walking back a change that we made a couple months back. So we've been having a lot of really good discussions with Chief Tilton and the command staff at the police department to make sure that we're focusing on recruiting. While we can hire good officers, it does continue to be a challenge. There's just not as many people that are looking to join the profession. So we're trying to look at ways that we can encourage growth or attract people to our department first and foremost, and then growth within the department. So we are getting ready to launch a sergeant promotional exam, actually as early as tomorrow, to put the word out about it. So what we had asked a couple months back was that for our laterals, this is gonna be the first sergeant's exam that we have laterals within our department. So laterals require 2 years of service to come to us as a lateral, and it requires 5 years of service right now with the Village of Tinley Park to take the promotional exam. So we wanted to try to, again, encourage growth within the department and allow the laterals who came to us with 2 years of service to test if they had at least 3 years of service with the village to equate to that 5 years needed for that process. And again, just continuing the conversation with Chief and the command staff, we want to put a hold on that for now. We do want to revisit it, but for example, to become a detective, that requires 5 years of service with the department. So there's other things that we need to look at and explore, and we just don't feel that right now would be the best time to do this, and we want to revisit it in the future. So we are just asking if we could walk it back for now and make that change.
Okay. Chief, you want to add anything to that?
Well, it is, Hannah explained, it makes it, so as she said, you can be, in order to be a detective, which is not quite, is lesser than the rank of sergeant, the time level is more severe. So we want to make sure that those things are at least equal.
Okay.
And that's the intent of walking it back. One of a couple of steps, but that's the most noticeable.
Okay, very good. Any questions from the committee? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. Did you want to go first, Bill?
No, I'm just, hey, Bill, would you mind grabbing that door?
Sure.
Sorry. No, I'm just looking at it.
Thanks, Bill. Me personally, I think it should stay the same. I don't think it's, I don't think it's fair to the people that have, to give the laterals a bump over the regular people that have been hired, went through the academy, and started from scratch and gone up, to just let someone as a lateral have less time to serve. That's just me. They came in from the start, they started at the bottom, and I am not supportive of just letting someone come in as a lateral and bump over our regular police officers that have been here and started from the scratch. So that's my recommendation.
Anyone else have any comments? See none? Any down here? None? All right.
So, yeah, I apologize.
Yeah, go ahead, Trustee Shaw.
So this proposal is, when you say walk it back, it's to reverse what was presented and approved last time?
Correct, yes.
And I'm a little confused with the statement here. What was the change? What was the change last time, and what are we changing it back to?
So we essentially just added a single sentence that said, within the civil service rules and regs that are adopted by ordinance, in the section where it says who's eligible for the promotional exam, it says right, what it used to say, the initial change, it said that you need 5 years of service with the police department to test. We added a sentence after that saying, or if you were a lateral, at least 3 years with the village to test.
That was, so that was my understanding,
Sentence.
that the previous recommendation was that we give credit for service at other departments.
Correct,
And now we're looking to remove that.
correct.
And was this something that was just recently discovered? The inequity between the detective and the sergeant roles?
So it was with further conversation with the police command staff, they had brought it up to me. So we've had open ongoing conversation, even the initial change, the chief and I had discussed, the commission had discussed. But I think it's just as we get closer to the sergeant's exam and kind of really looking at what we're doing and trying to encourage that growth within the department, it was something that did come up just recently, yes.
Okay, so is the thought that we're rolling this back to rethink it, or is the thought that it was fine the way it was and we're gonna leave it?
Maybe a little bit of both. Again, I think it's something that we just want to sit on a little bit more. The laterals are still fairly new. There would only be 10 max, I believe, that this would actually impact and potentially give the opportunity to. So it doesn't impact a significant group of people, if that makes sense. So I think it is something that we would like to revisit, but just not right now.
Okay,
But then why are we making the change in the first place? We're not revisiting it later, we're doing it now. We're letting a lateral go from 5 years to 3 years to be able to be a sergeant.
Yeah, so that's what we're trying to correct.
that is what was changed last time, and we're changing it.
That's what we had
back.
changed back, and the intent here, sir, is to fix that so that in order to test for sergeant, you have to now, with this new change that we're asking for, you would have to have 5 years to test in Tinley Park, which we think is a correction in the right correction.
So 7 years total.
Yeah.
No, just 5. If you're a lateral and you were here for 5 years,
Well,
then
if
you
you're
can
a
test.
lateral,
We
you're
don't
gonna-
have any laterals that have been here.
If you're a
for 5
lateral, you're
years.
already a police officer for 2 years.
Correct.
So it's
but-
7 years as a
Right.
police officer total, correct?
Sure, at least 5 with us.
Okay.
So 5 total.
The number of years, if I'm understanding, the number of years of service is not relevant, it's the number of years of service to Tinley Park.
Correct. So someone could have been a lateral for 4 years elsewhere, but they would still have to have 5 years with us, so they might not, 9 years of service and then be able to test.
So as I recall, the intent of the change was to help ensure that we have an ongoing pool of candidates.
Yeah.
So weighing that objective against the equity concern here, sounds like the decision is that we're more concerned about the latter. But we're likely still gonna have to address the former and deal with making sure we have a pipeline of new candidates down the road, right?
Yeah, and I will say, again, we've been having some really, really positive conversations. So this sergeant's exam, we actually are going to, in working with the same company that's hosted the exam, we are actually doing a custom test where we are able to kind of request specific materials to be tested on. We're using more of our general orders, so more relevant topics to our department that we want our supervisors to be able to, be supervisors and lead on. So we hope that is gonna be helpful as well, and I know Tom has kind of talked about it. The department is aware, and it sounds like there is some good momentum, and people are really excited and interested to test this time around too. So we hope that helps.
For the sergeant's exam.
Correct.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean a pipeline for leadership, that's important as well. I meant a pipeline for new recruits and bringing people in. But that, as my understanding, that was the intent of the original change. It's still a concern and still
Well,
an
sir, if
objective.
you don't mind me saying, the issue, to answer your question and give you the way I think you're looking for, so we have worked to do a customized test. One of the reasons we were concerned about the pool of people who would test and required the change that had initially been put in was that there was not a lot of enthusiasm in the existing pool that met the 5-year criteria because the test was found to be not the best example of a test of their knowledge. And a look at the statistics from the output of the test indicated that a change should be made. So we have reevaluated, redone, re-examined the test, provided the testing agency with a substantial amount of new information and reduced the outside sources that the officer pool would have to take to be promoted. there's a great deal of energy that we're hearing around this test, and there's a great deal of excitement that they're going to be challenged with a really good test, and we feel like that will enable us to go back to the prior standard.
Okay.
So we're very excited about this. We think it's going to be extremely accessible. By no means easy, but a more telling test of the people who are going to take it.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I appreciate the explanation, that there was more going into it than just like, well, we made this change and now we want to change it back.
Sure.
So I appreciate the background and the explanation.
Very good. Is there any other questions or comments? There are none. All right. Is there a motion to move item number 4 to the village board?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, trustee Brady. Is there a
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, trustee Mueller. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Roll call for item 4, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
Very good. Motion carries. Item number 5, discuss contract with Go Full Cloud for Microsoft Office 365 licensing. Anthony?
In March of 2022, the village migrated to a cloud-based Office 365 platform. This Office 365 platform provides email, SharePoint Online, Office applications, and other collaborative applications for the village. In order to reduce the costs, we utilize 2 different tiers, one with a web-only version and one as a application tier. Office 365 is subscription-based software, and in order to receive the lowest pricing for this licensing, the village advertised a public invitation for bid in March of this year. We received 9 proposals by the submission deadline. The lowest cost for the annual Office 365 subscription was provided by Go Full Cloud with a cost of $105,888. Funding for this expenditure has been budgeted in the fiscal year 2024 under the Information Technology Operating Budget Software Licensing Support Account. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Good. Any questions or comments for Anthony? See none? Thank you, Anthony.
I'll just stay up here, just foreshadowing the next one.
Sure. Is there a motion to move item number 5 to the village board?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, trustee Miller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Mahoney. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on item number 5?
Roll call for item 5, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 6, discuss contract with Midwest Public Safety for mobile data computers. Anthony?
Thank you. This is a request to purchase 20 laptops for the police department police vehicles. If purchased, we will be retiring the oldest laptops in their pool, some nearing 7 years old at this point, increasing the total number of laptops that are assigned to the individual vehicles for the police. The new laptops are GTAC brand and will be purchased from Midwest Public Safety. GTAC supplies the hardware for our body-worn cameras and our in-car camera solutions. The cost for the 20 laptops and required accessories is $78,100. Funding for this expenditure has been budgeted and is available in the approved fiscal year 2024 Information Technology Capital Budget. I'd be happy to address any questions you may have.
Thank you, Anthony. Any questions for Anthony?
Is there any chance, I realize we're in a throwaway world, that those may be recycled or given to a school or something to be used with them, or?
So, with especially police, we have to remove the storage in them just on the off chance that there's anything that may be a security risk. So removing the hard drive usually makes it so that most organizations tend to pass on it because they would now have to add a part back into it to make it usable. That combined with the age usually excludes those. What we do though is we have e-recycling. So we do have e-recycling. They'll come if there is an organization that they can connect with. Typically, they'll pass that along to them as well. Otherwise, it just is part of our e-recycling platform that we'll use.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, trustee Brady. Any other questions or comments regarding item number 6? There are none. Is there a motion to move item number 6 to the village board?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, trustee Sullivan. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Mahoney. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Roll call for item 6, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. That motion carries. Item number 7, discuss the South Suburban Emergency Response Team Fiduciary Memorandum of Understanding. Hannah, Tom, you guys want to take that?
Yep, thank you. So this is, we're just seeking approval of a memorandum of understanding, so that way we can become the fiduciary for SSERT. So as most of you know, SSERT is the South Suburban Emergency Response Team, made up of about 34 member police departments in the area that helps respond to critical incidents, different tactical responses, things of that nature. So SSERT is largely operational due to grant monies received. So right now, we're just looking to see if we can become the fiduciary, so that way that money isn't sitting on the table and can essentially use those funds that are coming to the SSERT group.
Very good. Thank you, Hannah. Any questions for Hannah or Chief? See none? Is there- Oh, go ahead, trustee Shaw.
Just so I understand the relationship, when you say fiduciary, it's a fiduciary relationship, or is it the sole fiduciary?
Can you clarify?
With the SSERT?
So any funds would come into us, and we would essentially just act as, we would be the keeper of the funds. If there's payments, we would pay those funds on behalf of SSERT, things of that nature.
Okay,
Yeah.
as opposed to the current situation which is what?
There is none. I believe it was the county prior, Tom, if you
Okay.
asked me
So
that.
to answer your question, SSERT is a 501c3. So they can't receive federal grant money as an agency made, as a entity that's made up of multiple different jurisdictions.
Gotcha.
So in order to receive federal grant money, whether it's UASC grant money from the county or frankly, federal asset forfeiture money from the federal government, they have to have an existing municipality that has existing procurement policies, financial management structures, so that there can be a paper trail and a responsible monitoring of the way the funds are spent. So as Hannah said, Tinley Park would receive the money. I'm actually the treasurer of the SSERT board. And Tinley Park would receive the money, I provide them with the bills, and then the federal government would reimburse, because these are reimbursable grants.
Right.
Once they show, then Tinley Park would be reimbursed for that expenditure.
Makes perfect sense, and I understand that. The question is, who's serving in that role now? Prior to this?
Well, there is no one serving that role,
Okay.
so they can't receive the grant funding at all.
Okay.
They can't receive the asset forfeiture money, which has led to a significant financial deficit over the past, believe me, they're still solvent, but they have lost out on a substantial amount of money they cannot take advantage of.
Okay.
It makes it more burdensome to pay for equipment and training.
All right, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Is there a motion to move item number 7 to the village board?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, trustee Brady. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Mahoney. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Roll call for item 7, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
Very good. Motion carries. Item number 8, discuss purchase of unmanned aerial systems technology, UAS, from MFE Inspection Solutions.
This is an ask of the board to approve the purchase by the police department of some new drone technology that will supersede our current technology, which is becoming obsolete in some of the uses that we need, which is search and rescue. We use them frequently with missing persons, and we work in tandem with the fire department and some critical incident response teams that work with the fire department, as well as accident mapping and things like that. And additionally, with the drones, there will be some software issues, which is DroneSense, which will allow that video to be dispersed to computers, and we can actually see it, and some other things. But that's the gist of the ask.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Any questions?
Chief, are we using the same drones, just getting more technology into it, newer technology? or are they getting-
These will be new drones, and then the current drones that we have will be repurposed to another agency within Tinley Park.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Any other questions? There are none. Is there a motion to move item number 8 to the village board?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, trustee Brady. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Mahoney. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Roll call for item 8, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
Very good. Motion carries. Item number 9, discuss contract with True Green Limited Partnership for lawn treatments. John?
Yes, thank you. This is one of our maintenance items that we bid out every few years. We had one respondent on this bid, which was True Green out of Crestwood. It's for the treatment of all the village properties at a cost of $25,966 for Program 1, and Program 2 at $15,623 for a total of $41,589, which falls in the budget that we had available for this contract.
Very good. Thank you, John. Any questions for John?
The two programs, John, I mean, I know in our own lawn, you know, we have program 1, it goes in the springtime, and then you have something in the summertime, and then you have one in the midsummer, and then it goes into the fall for winter. Is that all tied into a program?
Yeah, each program obviously is an application, you know, as you spoke of, multiple per year. This one is 2 applications for a spring application and then a late summer application, as I understand it.
Very
So
good.
there is no fourth one for a fall, you know, wintertime preparer?
Yeah, I'm actually just digging through the contract as you ask. So, spring application has a list of it, as you can see in the attachments. There's a late spring, early summer application, late summer application, fall application, landscape beds, vegetation management, spring fertilization, and late spring insect and disease application. All of this is in the attached contract.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? There are none. Is there a motion to move item number 9 to the village board?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, trustee Mueller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Mahoney. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on item number 9?
Roll call for item 9, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
Very good. Motion carries. Item number 10, discuss contract with City Escape Garden and Design LLC for landscape maintenance and mowing. John?
Yes, thank you again. This is another one of our landscape maintenance programs. This will be the final year of the contract, year 3 of 3. Budget available of $285,000. Final contract is based on 32 mowings with the approved increase of 3% at a dollar amount of $273,603.91.
Very good. Thank you, John. Any questions? See none. Is there a motion to move item number 10 to the village board?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, trustee Miller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Sullivan. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on item number 11? Or, I'm sorry, 10.
10. Roll call for item 10, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
Very good. Motion carries. Item number 11, discuss contract with L. Warren Oil Company for bulk fuel purchase. John?
Yes, thank you again. This is, as you recall, the fuel purchase contract that we approved last year. It's up for renewal. Last year's prices were for unleaded $2.85. Diesel base price was $3.11. We had 160,000 gallons of gasoline delivered over the year and 36,000 gallons of diesel over the year. The new contract, as you recall, can't be locked in until we have board action approving so, and based on the value at the amount of the stock, the range is afforded to the village manager to sign the contract between $3.01 to $3.21 for unleaded, and the diesel at $3.08 to $3.28 per gallon for this upcoming year's contract.
Very good. Thank you, John. Any questions regarding item number 11? There are none. Is there a motion to move item number 11 to the village board?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, trustee Mueller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, trustee Mahoney. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on item number 11?
Roll call for item 11, trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
Very good. Motion carries. Item number 12, receive presentation of fiscal year 2025 draft budget.
Thank you, Trustee Brennan. So we just wanted to take an opportunity to give the board an update on the status of our fiscal year 25 budget, which begins May 1st of 2024. We kick off the process in October, so it has been an ongoing process involving all the departments for several months now. And we are getting to the point where we are heading into the home stretch. So we just wanted to take the time to see if there's any input from the board. I did share information with you all the week prior to last week, so hopefully this isn't new to anyone. We did already receive some initial feedback and comments, so we appreciate that. But tonight, I do just want to focus in a few areas, specifically our general fund and revenue, and then new personnel requests and our capital requests. So overall, generally speaking, the village's finances remain strong. We're in a good financial position. Things are pretty status quo for the most part. I did want to highlight, we did receive a high volume of requests this year in the operating fund, personnel requests, capital requests. And it is a historic and exciting time for the village right now, and I think that is just reflected in some of these requests. So just to kind of give an idea, we did have nearly $8 million in new general fund operating requests this year, and we'll dig into some of this a little bit more in the coming slides. But we did have nearly $8 million of general fund requests, roughly $5 million of new personnel requests, and nearly $120 million worth of capital. Breaking down that capital number a little bit, keeping in mind that we do have carryovers, so carryovers we're accounting for roughly $30 million of that, many of which are some of the larger street projects that are involved with the county, things like that are kind of out of our control when it comes to time frame, so those are multi-year projects. Our departmental requests accounted for roughly $6 million of that, which is typical. That's usually our transfer that we make for capital year over year. We have Harmony Square obviously this year, and a lot of the infrastructure surrounding the downtown development. And then just other new requests accounting for about $17 million, which is slightly higher, but again, generally kind of what we see. So, in terms of the general fund, you can see for fiscal year 25, the last two columns here, our budgeted revenues are exceeding our expenditures. So, keeping in mind, we don't add any new personnel requests. We treat those as capital requests. So, those expenditures with approval of new personnel requests are anticipated to go up slightly, but again, only recommending revenues that, or expenditures that will be covered by our anticipated revenues. One thing to point out here, if you look at our revenues for fiscal year 25, again, this is just for the general fund, they're at about, 71.5 million. So we are seeing an increase. Just want to point out, ideally not as large of an increase as we'd like to see, and we'll kind of dig into that and explain why. Again, this is kind of just breaking down the different operating departments within the general fund. You do see general increases across the board in nearly every department. Unfortunately, cost of living and just the world we live in, costs continue to go up nowadays, so you see a lot of that. There were certain areas, so Public Works, for example, that looks like a large increase. We did take some of the capital requests we were seeing that truly are annual operating expenses and push those into the operating fund. So that's why there's a generally large increase there, shifting some other things around. We also did add 2 new funds into the into the general fund this year, So if you see 75 and 77. So downtown initiatives with Harmony Square on the horizon and some anticipated operating costs starting in the next fiscal year, we wanted to make sure we were accounting for some of those. And then integrated initiatives. So that's another large increase. Integrated initiatives captures things like radios and some of our telecommunications that we work on interdepartmentally amongst IT, police, fire, and public works. So it's kind of a catch-all department, if you will, but really critical to a lot of our communications infrastructure. Those requests typically were coming in as capital requests, but again, those are largely operating annual expenses we have, so we wanted to establish that department that just supports those operations. So touching on the revenues. So again, while we're seeing an increase in revenues, there are some areas that we do want to make sure that we're just paying attention to. So first and foremost, the big hit that we are taking is the state elimination of the grocery tax. So for us, we receive annually somewhere around $1.8 million from this tax that the state is essentially eliminating. We're hopeful that as a home rule unit, the state will allow us to potentially enact our own local grocery tax to help make up for this, but that one right there is a big hit for us, especially with several more grocery stores on the horizon to open. One thing, just the push tax that is tied up in the courts still without knowing the future of it, we're hopeful, but just to be conservative, we are kind of scaling back what we're accounting for in revenues there. We see decreases annually still in cable TV franchise and telecommunications as people just aren't using landlines and things like that as much anymore. We're not receiving as much from that. Other areas, motor fuel taxes continue to decline with more efficient cars and people switching to electric vehicles, things like that. And then just in other smaller areas. So while we are seeing declines, again, with all the growth we have and all the excitement and new businesses coming to town, we do have increases as well. We have a lot of sales tax coming in as a result of new development. So again, we're in good shape. It's just something that we want to highlight and just kind of let you know that staff is keeping a close eye on where our revenues are. Moving on to personnel requests, again, we had a large portion this year, or a large number, I should say. A lot of it was public safety. Looking at it across the board, this is just highlighting where the different departments made their requests. In the first column and the second column is essentially what we are recommending to fund. So breaking this down a little bit more, I know this is a little bit hard to see, but just to kind of go through some of these really quick. A FOIA coordinator, and again, these costs I should highlight, it includes benefits, FICA, Social Security, Medicare, all that good stuff. Equipment costs for public safety, we budget equipment costs in as the cost of a new personnel. So that's why some of these look a little bit high. This doesn't mean this is the salary that a person that we hire would get. It includes all costs. So a FOIA coordinator, with the volume of FOIA that we continue to receive, unfortunately, in some instances, just looking for some additional support in that front. Senior accountant, this would just be a position reclassification, so there's a cost offset. It would just be essentially an internal promotion. Assistant police records supervisor, that would be a new position. Community service officer, this is a existing part-time individual that we would be potentially looking to move to full-time. Patrol officer, there were several requests for patrol officers. I believe there was 6 total. We are recommending to only fund 1. We are continuing to just be behind on hiring. We're trying our best to hire police as quickly as possible, but just knowing kind of how our hiring has been going, we think realistically, just kind of catching up with where we're at and adding 1 more, we'd be able to get that done. Police analyst, this is an existing position. Right now it's actually just being filled with, or offset with other dollars available because of vacancies, but this is essentially just funding the part-time Lane Bryant tech that we have that still is working on that case. The police commander, that would be the 4th commander that we're looking to add that we've talked about with the board. Police project coordinator, that again, it's an existing part-time position we would be looking to add as a full-time position, so there's a cost offset there. The firefighter hours, I believe it was last meeting that we talked about the new fire pay plan, so this helps account for that, and then also just covering any staffing needs we have to make sure that our fire stations are fully staffed. What I will say here is that it shows this dollar amount. We do have a salary reserve line that we're essentially just going to make the transfer from, so this won't even have an impact on the budget. Lead dispatcher, this would be a new position. We are looking to just have additional coverage. I believe Lisa said it was for the weekend shifts, so making sure that we have a lead dispatcher on the weekend shifts, essentially looking for an internal promotion, but it would be a new body so we can backfill that internal vacancy. Full-time custodian, again, this is some offset of part-time positions into 1 full-time position. It's incredibly difficult to hire for custodians, so we think that this would be a good solution here. Permit tech within the community development department, we continue to have a high volume of needs when it comes to permitting and all the development going on, so requesting a part-time permit tech. Marketing assistant, we have a retirement, so in looking at our future operations, looking to go from a part-time to a full-time marketing assistant. Looking for a marketing intern, and then another position reclassification within the public works department. So These are all positions that we've talked about. HR is in the loop. We've really taken a hard look at our positions. You know, we don't feel the need to add positions just to add them. As you can see, a lot of these are, you know, part-time to full-time or position reclassifications. So we are taking a look at what the department needs really are and whether or not it actually justifies an additional body. So this is what we would feel comfortable recommending, and there is enough funds available to make sure that we can fund these requests. Moving on to capital. So again, we did have a large volume of capital this year. So starting just breaking it down a little bit with the departmental requests. So these are things like equipment needs, different, you know, if there's things within the facilities that need updating, you know, generally things like that, you know, not water main, not infrastructure, just other department needs, things like technology, new contractual services that we know we anticipate we're gonna need, things like that. So there are some carryovers here, but again, the net capital request to be funded would be about 6.5, which is typically what we fund with our transfer anyway. So this is on par with prior years. Outside of some of the department requests, some other major highlights across our various funds. Obviously, we have Harmony Square and all the infrastructure related with that project. Across our various TIFs, we have nearly $18 million worth of requests. This includes obviously just TIF eligible expenses, so a lot of infrastructure, things like utilities, LED street lighting phases, things of that nature. Do have some requests within our commuter parking lots, different resurfacing projects, potential EV charging stations that would be offset with grants. Within the water and sewer funds, we have about $14 million worth of requests and needs there, so lots of water main, different elevated or different lift stations or post stations, things like that that need attention. And then our street projects, we have about $8 million there. A lot of ongoing projects, so things like 80th Avenue, our PMP, pavement management program, the sidewalk program, 175th Street, 94th Avenue, projects like that. So that's just to give a quick high-level overview of where some of the capital, major capital is at. So with that being said, just want to open the floor to any questions we have now or any input or feedback. This Friday is when the budget will become available for public inspection. We're looking to do the public hearing on the 16th with tentative adoption on that day as well, assuming we're kind of ready to go and have everything pulled together.
Very good. Thank you, Hannah. Great job. Open it up to you guys down there. Have any questions or comments for Hannah or anyone?
At this point in time, I think she did a fine job explaining everything and where we're going and where we're headed into.
Okay, very good. Trustee Mueller?
I'm in ongoing conversations with Hannah on a couple of the items. The big ones that I think we do need to take a look at is how we want to use something like the commuter parking lots long-term and what we want to do with a lot of that. And then there's some personnel requests that I think we need to take a hard look at as well. Some of the ones that didn't make the cut, I think we still need to talk through. So happy to keep having those conversations next week.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yeah, a couple things on the permit tech position. That I missed the dollar amount on that. Was it 46,000?
About,
Yeah,
about
45.
45 or so.
I don't know. I mean, I know we implemented the new permit system, so didn't that kind of offset that, or are we adding a person for this, or?
So the ERP system that we are working on that will also include the community development software, it's in progress. We expect to go live hopefully February of 2025. So it's not live yet. We do hope that obviously will streamline a lot. I'll let Dan talk to kind of the needs of the department and why he's requesting this.
A big part of it's just a customer service kind of standpoint from online permits and even with the new ERP system. So currently it's really tough for our current department to even respond to a lot of the inquiries, particularly with time off, vacation. It gets really tough in there. So the part-time is just kind of somebody in there that can kind of fill the gaps and really be the front counter side of things that can really help us get permits out quicker, faster. Mike does a lot of the heavy lifting on top of what he's already currently doing. So it's just really to to kind of help move everything along there.
Okay. All right,
But
and then.
the hope is also the ERP will
Oh,
improve service as
okay.
well, so.
Okay. All right, and then the other thing I just have a concern with, you know, with the grocery tax elimination that the state is proposing, you know, I know that's something that I think that would help a lot of people. I know people are taking a lot of hits, so, you know, pushing that home rule and trying to, I know it's a $1.8 million of, you know, revenue that we get from that, but I just hope we could kind of reconsider that, and if, you know, the state passes something like that, I would kind of be on board to, you know, follow that, to give people a little bit of break. You know, I know we, you know, did our best and not raise the taxes, you know, this past year, and I think there's, you know, sometimes there's no way that we can eliminate some of these costs and fees, and, you know, with expanding and new, you know, technology and things that we have, but if we can revisit that a little bit, I would be, you know, happy to kind of look at that a little bit more. That's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Sullivan. Mr. Mayor? Nan?
No, that's okay. Thanks, Bill.
Anything?
Yeah, I piggyback off of what Colin said. You said it's tough back there. Can you define what it is? Define the tough that we need another permit tech?
Really just being able to kind of process the amount of online permits, the amount of inquiries we get, the amount of questions we get from building permits, building code questions, that all kind of get processed through there, as well as kind of the contractor registrations, everything like that is just, it's kind of bogged down our permit times, our permit review times. So this is really to hopefully help us kind of expedite that there.
What's the turnaround time?
I'd have to look up what that average is on that, but I think the median was like 7 to 8 days on permits, but obviously with our hope, that number grows, the more larger permits we get, and then kind of the more smaller permits we get, it can tend to go down. So it's just to kind of help move things along there with the permits.
Gone down, or have they gone up?
Gone up significantly over the last year or two. And that's, the expectation is also, fiscal year '24 will be even bigger, as it's been growing over the last 2 years. So right now, Mike kind of subs in, answering a lot of those questions and stuff kind of in his off time. And it's really trying to hopefully move that away from our building official doing a lot of this kind of public outreach, and we can shift that back to the permit tax. That's just kind of been a necessity. And so it kind of moves down the line too, as we end up having to use a consultant a lot to really do our permit reviews and inspections, because Mike's there answering questions. So it kind of moves down the line of where the time is spent.
And then, as far as the custodian, have we ever looked at what the cost differences, instead of having someone full-time and paying them full benefits, to just outsource it?
So we actually, and John, if you could help me out with this one, so we did contract at one point or try to, and that didn't really work out well either, correct?
Yeah, we've had in the past multiple agencies that were doing it as an outsource. The level of service was greatly decreased. Responsiveness was not there. You know, and we kept calling them out on the contract, terminating contracts, replacing contracts. There was just the level of service was not there with custodial services. And it's probably upwards of about 8 years ago now is when we started looking at insourcing the custodians. And once the positions were filled, we were definitely getting a much higher level of service with you know, the sense of ownership, it being an employee of the village versus a contracted service.
Okay. Is this position going to be, is this Mark?
No, this is 2 vacant part-time positions that we do continue to have issues filling for long-term, that we've asked to relinquish the 2 part-time positions for 1 full-time position.
Okay. Thanks, John. And the last one, could you please, Pat and Hannah, send me a list of all the new hires or recommended personnel that are recommended and which are not recommended?
Sure.
Thanks. Thanks, Bill.
Yep. Trustee Mahoney?
Nothing over here.
Trustee Shaw?
I had a few questions. I spoke to Hannah a little earlier. I'm just gonna connect with her in the next day or two. Nothing I wanna bring up here tonight.
Okay. Very good. My only question is in regards for the one position for police officer. That cost is, it's 281 for one?
Yep.
And that includes,
So-
includes the bennies and pension?
Correct, yeah, so pension, for a single patrol
It's higher
officer
than
now
I
at this
remember, that's all.
point, we have to pay 52% of the salary towards police pension. So it basically is, you're paying for a position and a half just on that alone. Again, we include equipment, everything that they need to
Oh, okay.
essentially
You
get
have
them
the-
fully
okay, all right.
outfitted and all that good stuff, so,
Okay. All right, yeah, as long as the vehicle was included in that, okay.
yeah.
I just thought we were looking at salaries, so, all right. Very good, I was,
Yeah.
so, all right, very good. That's all I got for right now, but I'll connect with you guys the next couple weeks, so. If that's it, anyone else want to add anything before we open it up to the public? If anyone want to make any comments regarding our budget? There are none. All right, item number 13, receive comments from the public. Does anyone like to address the committee of the whole?
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Quite nice to see the warm welcome, people. This was the entire budget presentation, I'm sorry, because I was in transit. Is there going to be another time for us to talk and ask questions?
So this is just the initial presentation of what we focused on tonight. The budget, according to state statute and historically how we do it annually, it becomes available for public inspection
Okay.
as of this Friday, and then from there, we just continue on with the process as we normally do.
Normally, I mean, prior mayors held budget meetings for the public to come to. And each of the department heads would stand here and speak publicly of what they were doing. It was wonderful. We really got to look into what you guys were doing as staff. So I didn't know that. So is it out there now? Just so I know, because I definitely want to make sure I go through it this year.
It becomes available for public inspection on the 5th.
The 5th?
Right.
Okay. Well, wow. Talk about no information. What happened? Weren't you guys used to be out here begging for people to give information? Just one thing. So who
Diane,
asked
there
for
will-
6?
There will be a public
I'm
hearing.
sorry, I'm asking questions.
There will be a public hearing, too.
There will be a public hearing?
Yes.
Held, okay, thank
That
you.
was, that was
She
out.
said it was April
That was outlined.
Well, I
in the-
didn't hear her. That's why I asked her to clear it up. I was in transit. So don't, please.
I've given you the date. You asked.
Okay,
you-
I
you
already
wanted a
heard that.
public
Thank
hearing,
you,
I'm giving
Bill.
you the
You're
date.
welcome.
I appreciate that. Don't start with your, Mr. Carr, will you and you have cost us enough money with your crinkling of your bottles. Don't do that over me. You do that over people who have cost us a lot of money in this town in lawsuits.
All right. Diane, focus your
Okay,
comments
I'm
towards the-
sorry, but I
towards
don't
the board.
appreciate
Towards
the
board.
water
Diane,
bottle garbage. I
Diane,
watched
keep
that
it
enough.
focused towards the board,
How-
please.
Who was the person that asked for 6 officers? Who asked for 6 officers? You said the request was for 6, because nobody stood up here. We didn't get to hear anybody, what the actually people, the professionals who are asking for this stuff. Who asked for 6? And who, you said they asked for 6, and you said you're only recommending 1. Who asked for 6? Who is that?
Public hearing's on the 16th.
Oh, so, okay, I'm sorry. So we can't ask questions right now?
It'll be
Nobody can tell me that?
available on the 5th.
So I'm going to assume the police department is probably asking for 6. And Mr. Carr and the mayor here, who believe they're public officials, okay, so I'll use the rest of my time just to talk about things I'm going to talk about later, but, so I have some questions. So one thing is, I see we have a new village attorney.
I'm gonna
I have my
interject-
time
I'm
right
gonna
now,
inter-
Mayor,
I'm gonna
I have my
interject on
time.
you, Diane.
I have my time.
You were on the board
I have my
for
time.
4
I'm gonna
years.
ask to stop the
You were on the board for 4 years. It's the same process. You called me out. I'm going to respond. You were on the board for 4 years, Diane. This is the same process we hold every single year.
time, and I'm a public person, would you stop the mayor from using my time?
Diane.
Okay, we have a new
Diane,
attorney now.
Diane.
So I
You
understand.
directed your comment towards me, and I
we have-
responded.
Oh, okay, let's go right to that. Because
Okay,
last
please do.
night, I read some of your comments on social media. So let's go right there. I think it's very unfortunate that we have a mayor and we have management that are working with people who harass citizens in this town, who feed the information out to them. You can come after me, and I'm happy. I can't wait to get a day in court. So,
Diane.
I think it's unfortunate
Diane,
that
you
we have a
have-
mayor that was on social media last night harassing
Diane,
citizens.
you have to stop.
And I think
Laura,
it's
you pause.
inappropriate, and I think
Diane.
it needs to stop.
Diane,
Yeah.
there's no personal attacks.
Oh, I'm not.
You
I'm
you
just
know the
reporting
rules.
what happened.
You know the rules.
Okay, I know. The rules are that we have to have individuals sitting on this board willing to speak up for everybody, right? So I'm just asking to
There's gonna be no
stop the
public-
social media attacks.
Diane, there will be
Stop
no
doing it.
attacks. No personal attacks.
I'm not giving any personal attacks. I'm reporting what happened. It's a fact. I can publish it. I mean, would you take it published?
You can send whatever you
I'm
want.
reporting to this board, I think it's inappropriate, that you were out, your mayor is out attacking people with mental health issues. He's saying that they don't get their day in court. We all get a day for our rights to
Diane.
be out there. So I'm just trying to say, I'm
Diane,
just using.
you have to stop.
Okay, stop what, Bill? What am I, you want me to stop?
I call the point of order.
What is your
No
rule?
personal-
You're asking, what's your?
There
what are you
there
asking
are
me
no
about?
personal attacks.
So what am I, I'm just saying that I think it's
It's your last
inappropriate
warning.
for the board. I can't come here? Is that right, village attorney, a new village attorney? That I can't come here and question the board for being on social media last night, attacking the public?
It's public comment, not public question and answer.
So I can't ask you questions either?
It's public comment.
Well, then I'm gonna
not
keep
public question and
talking.
answer.
I think this is crazy. I think this is really ridiculous, that the mayor, there's an individual that's questioning his rights, and the mayor is personally attacking him, and I don't think it's right. I think he should get his day in court, and I don't think you should be out there feeding information to people that are harassing him. I went and filed a police report against a man that was harassing my family. And during the unethical review you guys did of me, when the last village attorney placed somebody he was working with during that time, and I'm sure you guys all know that, but it wasn't independent. It was done inappropriately, and everybody should have their day in court, is my long story here. I'm using up my time because I don't get to ask questions on the budget. It was on the agenda, so I rushed over here. I thought I got to ask questions on it. So I'm just using up my time. Why did you remove Paul O'Grady from being the village attorney? And you appointed a new village attorney. I don't know who it is. There needs to be a public appointment. That's part of our process. That's part of our rules, correct? Or you can't answer. The village attorney can't answer me as a public. How do I get answers? Do I email you guys? I mean, none of you can answer my
Diane,
questions?
you can email any of us.
You
know
guys
that.
can't
You know
answer my
that.
question right now? We used to have a village attorney. We paid significant money, overpaid. You removed him in the middle of a bunch of lawsuits, which questions why. And you can't ask any questions. And if I keep talking, then.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the committee of the whole?
For the record, the attorney was appointed on February 20th,
Correct.
publicly.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, trustee Mueller. Thank you, trustee Brady. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll for adjournment?
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Brennan?
Yes.
Trustee Mahoney?
Yes.
Trustee Mueller?
Yes.
Trustee Shaw?
Yes.
Trustee Sullivan?
Yes.
We are adjourned at 6:54 PM.